Hello and welcome back to the channel with me, the Orienteering Kid, where today we're back in Linköping for day 8 of the Swedish Forest Cup. Yes, we are back here on the penultimate day of the Swedish Forest Cup, which, if you didn't know already, is a week-long series organised by Christian and can be found here on the Tempo Simulator, the link to which can be found in the description of this video. Now, with 2 more days to go, I have really been enjoying this week so far, and I think all the problems that Christian has set have been very challenging and have tested me a lot, and I am very grateful for that. But yeah, I am just excited to see exactly what he's got in store for us in our 3rd time in Linköping this week. So we will just jump straight into it now. We're going into the Swedish Forest Cup section and we're down to day 8, which today is a 1 to 5,000 map with 2.5 metre contours. We're still on 4 stations and it's a 60-second penalty for every wrong answer. And again, the zero tolerance is 4 metres, no size problems. Now, this area was originally mapped at 1 to 15,000, so as always we've got to take into account the scaling and the slight irregularities that might come in the map. And then we also have this new cut down area marked with pink lines on the map, so there is potentially going to be some clearing that isn't on the map and is still marked as woodlands, but the boundary of that will be with that pink dashed line. And also there may be some small tracks from foresting that aren't on the map. And as always, these pictures are going to be generally about 120 degrees, which is wider than normal human vision, so we've got to try and remember that as we're looking at the terrain. As always, my answers will be appearing in the top right hand corner of the screen, so you can see exactly what I'm putting, correct or wrong, with the black and red letters at the moment that I do. And with that, let's have a go at day 8 of the Swedish Forest Cup. And here is station 1. Okay, bare rock potentially with alpha, bare rock at the back with delta as well, boulder. Those are the 2 bare rock areas that fits. So I think that one is Charlie, and that boulder out the back will be a 0. That hill, I'm believing that's Foxtrot. That hill is Alpha, and that marsh, if it's not Echo, I don't really know where it is. And that was actually a fairly good first station. I did find that one fairly easy to start us off with. The fact that I'd spotted the 2 bare rock areas of Alpha and Delta was able to help me place the first task on the 2 boulders. I wasn't quite sure that Charlie was on a boulder, but once I knew that Bravo was, I could see that Charlie was as well. And then with that second task moving all the way back, there was this brief moment of doubt, but I'm pretty sure we were in the right place. And everything else seemed to fit from that, so I'm very happy with that one. I think that station was very good, and so we now will move straight on to station 2. Okay, there's potentially crag there with Foxtrot and potentially one at the back with Echo. That crag could be that, and that could be the hill potentially. I can believe that with Bravo being on the top of that hill. Let's see how that fits. Could that be the area that we want? I'm going to 0 that. That feels too far back. Or maybe it was that. Because that spur... Oh, we stood there. Okay. That possibly makes a lot more sense. I think that one's Delta. I think that one might be Foxtrot. And then on the knoll, you see that gap seems too big to have changed. I'm going to go with Charlie. And that one threw me a bit, and we can see that took me over a minute, but I don't think that's a problem. With these having a 60-second penalty, I think it's better to be taking your time. But yeah, I thought I was pretty certain with Bravo being on the first task on the top of the hill, but now I'm not quite as sure, as I was still trying to work out which of the 3 crags we could see on the right hand side. We could only see 2, but I think maybe the 3rd one might have been behind us. We will have to see afterwards, so I think I've probably made at least 1 mistake with that one. But we just have to move on to the next station, and that for now is station 3. Okay, there's a couple of crags around, or knolls, or probably hill actually. That could be that. With the spur and the hill at the back, I can believe that as Delta. That hill at the back That fits the Bear Rock, that would fit that. I feel like Foxtrot's too far to the right, but then I also feel like it could be right. I'll go with Foxtrot. That's possibly a mistake. Echo on there. Where were we? That seems miles up to the right hand side, and Charlie's on the other end of that hill. So that one wasn't too bad, I don't think. I potentially think the wide angle photo might have been skewing how I wanted it to fit a bit, but I'm fairly happy with Foxtrot being that second task, even though I was doubting it for a while, and that's probably going to be my longest task in that station. But I don't think the rest was too bad. The Bear Rock seemed to help there, knowing that those were the yellow patches, and when we went off to the left hand side, I was fairly certain that that one was a 0, although it did throw me slightly. But we will have to see again that one afterwards. However, we will now move on to the final station of the day, which is Station 4. Okay, don't forget Bravo right at the back. There's potentially some lumps there. Is Bravo on that? Okay, this is the area from the other day, so that works as that. That's the hill at the back. That all works. I think I've placed everything. That one's Alpha. I think that one's a 0. Okay, Foxtrot, Delta, and Charlie. And actually I think spending the 18 seconds on that first task to try and place everything sped me up for the final 3. And I'm fairly happy with that one, but we will get to that afterwards. Let's first go through the starting stations. And I don't think this station was the hardest one to start with. I think this was quite nice. What I saw here was there's some Bear Rock by Alpha and some Bear Rock by Delta. And they seem in similar places, and there's potentially a boulder by Bravo. And then when I looked at the map, I saw the Bear Rock here of Alpha, the Bear Rock of Delta, and another boulder by the Alpha Bear Rock. But then we want a boulder that's further to the right of the boulder by Bravo, and looking across at Charlie, there is clearly a boulder behind Charlie, and it's definitely on the northern side, so I was happy with that one as Charlie. But then there was potentially some doubting, as some of you may have thought that you got the first one wrong and this one might actually be Charlie or Bravo, but there are clearly 2 boulders on the map here, and there are clearly 2 boulders by Bravo and Charlie, so this singular boulder is going to be behind them, possibly through there, and so that one is definitely a 0, and I was fairly happy with that one. And then we came forward and we have these 2 boulders pointing kind of towards this hill of Foxtrot, and if it's not Foxtrot I don't really know where else it could be, because it's definitely too close to us to be one of those 2 hills at the back, so I'm happy with that one being Foxtrot. And then we went to the left hand patch of Bear Rock, which I identified to start with, and so I was very happy with that one being Alpha. And then this final task I wasn't too sure on. All I really did was see that Echo is in about the right place, and I think that does work. If you see the line that Bravo and Charlie are pointing on, it points just below the Echo kite, and that's what it does on the map, and it's in about the correct location with the Foxtrot hill as well, and so I can believe there is a marsh under there and Echo is right in the centre of it. So I think that was actually a fairly nice station to start us in on. I was very happy with that one, and I think all the features there were clear. What I then got confused with was Station 2, and this really was me struggling to see exactly where we could be, and I think to me this is the wide angle making it look like Bravo is a lot further back than this knoll, and so I was very happy to say that the highest place on the map is this small hill, and we want the northern end of it, and there was the Bravo hill with the northern end of it, and to me I was seeing all of this line to start with of Alpha, Charlie, Delta and Foxtrot as this line down here. I couldn't quite see where this hill came in, however I thought we were stood down here looking upwards, and Bravo seemed to fit about far enough away, so I was happy with that one as Bravo, and I think that probably still is Bravo, as we'll see as we move through the rest of the station. However, I think this one is now Echo rather than a 0, because I thought still that we could only see these front 2 crags and not the third one at the back, and so I did 0 it after a while. However, I think I have now realised that we are stood with this bottom crag behind us, and we can see we are stood on this ridge here with the knoll of Charlie, potentially the spur of Delta and the crag of Foxtrot, and so this one should actually be Echo on the next crag behind. So I think this is my first mistake of the day. And then coming to task 3, we come to a spur that's coming off the knoll, and this is where I think I realised that Charlie was actually on the knoll, but it's definitely on the top of the knoll, and there is potentially a spur coming down here by Delta, so I'm fairly happy with this one being Delta. Just we'll see at 35 it does look very close to the knoll, and so that may be wrong, we will have to see. However, this one I am now very happy with being Foxtrot, since I've realised finalised our actual positioning, and Echo being the second task, we want the next crag down, and we want the eastern part of that crag. And as we look at it here, Foxtrot is definitely on the eastern end, and part means it's going to be on the bottom, which is definitely where Foxtrot is, so I'm very happy with that one being Foxtrot. And then we come back to the knoll, and I'm going to flick between 23 and 25, because I'm looking at that knoll, and Charlie's definitely on the top of that knoll. I just want to check whether it moves enough for 23 to be Delta, and it does really seem to. Delta is definitely on the spur. I think I'm fairly happy with that, and so the only one I think I got wrong there was the 0 being Echo instead, and I think this was potentially actually a no-0 station, but I think it was a good no-0 station. I think that was a challenging one, and with the parallel features of the crags, some of you definitely would have slipped up, but I think I am very happy with that one. So yeah, I don't think that one was too bad in the end at all, and I don't think this third station was too bad either, because what I saw here originally was there is a hill here with Charlie and Delta on it, and potentially a crag here with Bravo, although I am now struggling to see this hill, but we are going to stick with it. And then there's a hill out the back potentially with a crag and Alpha. There's some bare rock there clearly, and then 2 more hills in a line with Echo and Foxtrot. But I think now what it is this hill with Charlie and Delta, which is the one we want at the moment, the hill at the back with Alpha, and then Foxtrot's on this spur, I think, out there, although this one may be Foxtrot actually. I'm going to stick with it as the spur though, and Echo being maybe on this hill here. So in going with that, we want the long hill in the middle, and we want the southeastern part of it. It's going to be the right hand side of it as we're looking at it, and Charlie is on the left hand side, Delta's on the right hand side, so I'm very happy with that one being Delta for now. And then we go out to the back, and I was debating this for a small while because I didn't think Foxtrot actually looked like the spur down here, and maybe it was the hill, and I have gone with it thinking potentially that the wide angle view is throwing us a bit. However, I'm wondering whether that actually is now a 0 and it's meant to be behind this hill and this is the spur. I'm not completely confident on that. I am undecided of whether it's Foxtrot or 0, and you can see this took me the longest time in the station by far to get, so we will have to see that afterwards, but maybe I'm leaning more towards 0 now. We will see. But then we come forward, and I'm wondering why I put Echo now, because I think this one is a lot clearer as a 0. Why did I put Echo? I'm very confused. Maybe this was a mispunch, because what I want is a spur by the hill of Charlie and Delta. So maybe this one's meant to be Bravo. I don't know why I put Echo, because it fits with the Charlie and Delta hill, and I can't really see where else we could be on the map that fits this well, being the third task and we've been in this area for the whole time. But yeah, I think that's another mistake. I think that one should be Bravo now, potentially. But then we go right off to the left hand side, and I am very happy with this one being a 0 as it's miles away from this Charlie and Delta hill. And then we come back to the hill and we want the northwestern part now, so I'm very happy with that one being Charlie. And I don't really know what I think of that station anymore. I thought that was quite nice, but maybe I've made 2 or 3 errors there, or I've seen it completely wrong and I've made all 5 errors, but that is how I fitted it together before. I'm very confused as why I put Echo for the third task, because I don't think it fits at all. I was potentially just rushing there, but yeah, we will have to see afterwards. I think that will become a lot clearer when the results come out. But this 4th station I am very happy with, and helpfully for me, I recognise this as the similar area from day 2, because on, I think it was day 2, we were stood out here looking this way with Alpha on the corner of the crag, and I think Bravo is there now. And then once I spotted that, because this area is very flat and that area is flat there, I went Alpha is on the hill back from it, not the knoll I don't think, and then we have Charlie on this hill with the crag, Delta's on the rounded contour out the back, and then I originally thought that Echo was going to be on the one further back and Foxtrot on this one here, and so in doing that I immediately went for Alpha after trying to place all the kites, and so I was happy with that. But then we went to the hill at the back and I was thinking this doesn't look quite right, and so before putting Echo I thought about it and went that's not actually going to be in line with Charlie, so then I moved Echo to actually be on this hill and Foxtrot on the spur, so that one turned out to be a 0, and now I've placed all 6 kites fairly well. I was happy to very quickly speed through this as we came to the spur, and so I was very happy with that one being Foxtrot, and then the rounded hill at the back, and so it's Delta, and then that hill in the middle, and that one is Charlie. And so I potentially got fairly lucky with that final station, as I was able to fit all 6 kites, and in remembering the station back from day 2, I think that helped a lot. So yeah, that does bring us to the end of the 4th day. Stations 1 and 4 I am very happy with. Station 2 I think is only 1 error, but I'm happy with, and station 3 I think it's probably 2 errors, but it could be more. We will have to see afterwards, but let's go and have a look and see where I am on the results. We'll try and get a gauge of that, and I am down in 20th. That's not bad at all for now. We are about midway through the competition at the moment. That probably means I've made 3 or 4 mistakes. We will have to see afterwards, but I will join you then for the overall results. And we are back, and you can see I've only dropped slightly, not as far as I thought I was going to, considering the time I did it today, down to 40th with 3 mistakes, and I don't think that's too bad at all. You can see I was second on the first station, and I did actually win station 4, but it was station 2 and 3 where I did get some wrong, so we will have to have a look at those. But firstly, it is well done to Lowry for winning today's event by 8 seconds with no mistakes. That is common for all the winners of this week so far, with Tobias in second place, and there really being a fairly big gap between the 2 of them and Jacek in third, so very well done to the 2 of them for doing it so quickly. In terms of where he won it though, it does look like it was probably during station 3 which he won, and there were a few errors from the people in the top 20 during that station, but also in stations 2 and 4 I think there was quite a common wrong answer here in station 2 task 3, so we will have to have a look at that and see if that's common throughout the whole of the leaderboard. But yeah, I think definitely in the later stages of the event was where he won it, so very well done to him for doing so. Let's have a look at the percentages now, and with station 1 it is looking very green, but maybe this third task is going to be the worst answered, and it is, but it's only at 60%. That's not too bad at all, with 436 of you going with Foxtrot the correct answer, but 110 for Echo and 115 for Zero. I can see why this one possibly would have tripped the most of you up, because Foxtrot was right in the foreground and there wasn't much detail around it to try and work it out, but I think it was clear in relation to the 2 boulders of Bravo and Charlie it was in the correct place, and most of you did manage to notice that. The rest of this station though was very well answered. I think this was probably the easiest station of the day, so if you did manage to get most of them right, I think you've done a very good job, so well done. And then we move on to station 2, and as we are scrolling it's already looking like this third task is probably going to be the worst answered, and it definitely is, with the only one below 50% here at 35%. 254 recognised it was Delta, but 215 thought it was Charlie, and 135 also thought it was a Zero. To me it was clear it was going for the spur rather than the knoll, but the centre of the circle wasn't that far off the top of the knoll, and so if you didn't read that properly or didn't look at the control description you may have easily thought it was Charlie, as 215 of you did. But I think it was clear that Delta was on the spur between the Charlie knoll and the crag of Foxtrot, which we did visit for tasks 4 and 5. But well done if you did manage to spot Delta straight away there. And also the task before, with 374 going with Echo, but 189 went with Zero as the most common wrong answer, and that was the answer that I gave because I thought we could see the front 2 crags, but it turned out we could actually see the back 2 crags, and the front one which I thought Foxtrot was on was actually behind us. So that one was Echo. I could definitely see that afterwards, but we will have a look at that when we go back. However, I think the other 3 tasks here were fairly well answered, so I don't really need to have a look at those. So well done if you did manage to get those right. Then we go on to station 3, and this is where I made most of my mistakes, and it's looking like they were the worst 2 answered tasks as well, the first 2. And we have only got one below 50%, it's 21% for the first task, with 156 getting it right with Foxtrot, but 423 went with Delta, and that is what I went for. To me, I thought Charlie and Delta were on a hill by themselves, and there was definitely a steep drop where Delta was to the right hand side of it, but it does look like Foxtrot was part of that hill as well, and we will have a look at that when we go back. And also this second task being a Zero, 253 thought it was Foxtrot. However, with that being the answer to the first task, it can't have been the answer to the second task if the circle did move, and even afterwards I thought this was a Zero, thinking that Delta was in the right place for the first task. But well done to the 383 of you that did put Zero. I think that's very good going, and again the rest of this station was very well answered, so even if the first 2 tripped you up a bit, you did seem to be able to get the last 3 right, so very well done if you managed to do that. And then finally we come to the last station of the day, station 4, and as we're scrolling it's already looking like this first task is going to be the worst answered, and it is, with 18%, and it's the worst answered task of the day, with 136 going with Alpha, but 199 went with Charlie and 196 also went with Zero. To me, I did get lucky here because I recognised the area from day 3 station 2, which you can go have a look back on my video from that day, and you'll be able to see that we were actually stood at a different angle, and so I was able to take the time and place all the controls and then speed through them at the end. So to me it was clearly Alpha, but I can see why why some of you thought it was Charlie, as Charlie was on a distinct hill that we came to for the last task, and also if you didn't really know where we were, you would have put 0. So we will have to have another look at that. And also the second task was below 50% as well, as I think some of you were still getting a grasp of where we were, with 149 going with Delta and 179 going with Echo. I think Echo was, to me, the choice I almost went for, but then I did realise that Echo was on the hill in front rather than the hill behind, which was the one we wanted, and so I was with the other 339 of you who went with 0. But even if you'd placed yourself by that point, I think it was quite hard to tell that, so well done if you did manage to get that one right. And then the other 3 tasks weren't too badly answered at all, with it being in the 50s and 60s, so we will have a brief look at them, but I don't think we need to go over them properly. So really, there aren't actually many tasks that we do need to go over, but let's go back and look at them now. And with this first station, I think it was only really the third task which people got the most wrong as we're waiting for it to load, and I can really see why. Coming from 12, we are going a long way to Foxtrot, and so some of you may have thought we're going further out the photo. However, with 12 being a 0, we can't really trust that. We need to go with other stuff that we've already said, and we have already said that with Alpha on the bare rock here, the 2 boulders are going to be Bravo and Charlie, and they point to just further back than this hill. And looking at the map, these 2 boulders do point behind the hill, and so Foxtrot is definitely in the right place, but I can also see that some of you might have thought Foxtrot was on this hill, or maybe one of the hills out front. There are a couple of options that it could be, but using the other features around it, I think it's clear it is Foxtrot. So well done if you did manage to get that. With Station 2, my mistake we have already cleared up, with Foxtrot and Echo being on the back 2 crags in this line of 3. Originally I thought that Foxtrot was going to be on this crag down here, but I can now see the hill, and so the crag is going to be coming the other way from behind us. So that one is definitely Echo, going with the Foxtrot crag here and then Echo. It was this third task, however, which most of you managed to get wrong, and I can see why. If you just look at the centre of the circle, you may think that the knoll is actually centred in the centre of the circle, and so it could be Charlie, or you may think it's Charlie anyway because it's close enough to the knoll, but I think in relation to the knoll and the crag, it's almost right in the centre, and with the knoll here and the crag down here, right in the centre is going to be Delta, and that is clearly on a spur in about the right place. And even if I wanted it a couple of metres to the left, I don't want it 4 metres to the left. So I was very happy with that one being Delta, even though it took me 20 seconds to get there. And then I think people realised their mistakes if you went with Foxtrot for the 4th task or Charlie for the 5th task. So yeah, I don't think that station was too badly answered at all. I think the hardest one for me today was this 3rd station, especially this task. And I am still struggling to see that this one is Foxtrot, but I can believe that Charlie and Delta are the length of the crag and the hill goes a bit further. So maybe if we're looking at the length of the crag, it does go a bit further back there. And so Foxtrot is on the end of that hill. I originally thought this was going to be a spur with Foxtrot on it, but looking at it now, it should actually be a re-entrant instead. And this is what I do need to work on, reading consoles properly. But that is a lot clearer now as Foxtrot, with Echo being on the bare rock out the front as well. That does seem to fit a bit better. However, most of you did manage to spot this 0, and I think even with Delta being in the right place, going further back, there is nothing behind the Delta Charlie Foxtrot hill. I did have a moment thinking this was Foxtrot, even though I thought it was on the spur, and I did go with it, but I think this is a lot clearer as a 0 now, so well done if you did manage to do that. And again, the rest of the station was very well answered. So I think after those first 2 tasks, people were definitely getting a better grip of the map and managed to solve it a lot easier. However, this final station I think was slightly worse answered, and I think if you didn't spot the different orientation of the station from day 3, it could have been quite hard to do. However, with this first task, I just noticed that Bravo was on the same crag that Alpha was on day 3 over here, and then I just worked back to the hill that Alpha is on, which is the hill we want, and the hill over here with the crag of Charlie is what Echo was on the previous day on this one, so that all did seem to fit. If you hadn't spotted that though, there are some other clues. There is quite an open area here with the rocks around it, and so looking at it, that could only really be this marsh as the flat area with no contours. And then if you work your way around, you'd see that either Foxtrot is on the spur with Echo on this hill, or Foxtrot is on this hill with Echo on the one behind, and then Charlie lines up as this hill here, and then you come further around and we do come out with Alpha. However, this did take me 2/3 of my time for the whole station, so I do think this was probably the hardest task in this station, so if you did manage to get that, well done. And then with this second task, quite a few went with Delta actually, and I can kind of see why. If you potentially think that Charlie was the answer to the first task, we're going back and to the right, and that does seem to be where Delta is. However, to me, I had placed it on this curved hill back there, and then I was coming to Echo, and I did think about it for a small bit, with it being my second slowest task. However, I then noticed that Foxtrot was going to be on this spur here that we did go to task 3 for, and so this hill is going to be the Echo Hill, and the one behind it is definitely going to be a 0, as it's also in line with the Charlie Hill. So this station was probably the hardest station overall. I didn't find it too bad, but again, it was me noticing this station from a previous day, which helped. And overall, I don't think today was one of the hardest days for me, at least. I think quite a lot of the features were clear and easy to spot out in places, maybe with a couple of tricks, especially with stations 3 and 4. But I think today was alright, and I have still enjoyed today. It was a very good one. And yeah, with one day to go, I'm excited to see what he has for us tomorrow. But let's go back and have a look now at the overall results for the series so far. And while it loads, it's going to send me down to my current position, which is 72nd place. I am very happy with that. I think anywhere in the top 100 for me is doing a very good job in this week. That has gone up about 10 places since yesterday, so I am very happy with that. In terms of the current leaders though, Severin is more than 11 points ahead now of Alessio in second place, who has made it to second place today from his very good result. So I think really Severin is almost uncatchable. Now it is your best 8 events of 9, so if Severin doesn't improve tomorrow, someone like Tapani with an 87.3 could overtake him. We will have to see how that goes, but we have Antti 2 points behind Alessio in third, and then Tapani 4 points behind Antti in fourth. So I think it is going to be close, especially for second and third place, and we will have to come back tomorrow with this final day to see how it plays out. And then coming to the clubs, we have Massey, as they always seem to be, in first place. They are about 60 points ahead of MTV Season. This was after their second place today. However, MTV had a 7th place today, so they have gone back a fair bit. And then we have MDoc in third place, still about 30 odd points behind MTV Season. So it is definitely going to be an important one tomorrow to see who comes second, but I think first place is fairly secure, and the only way MDoc are going to drop to fourth is if they have a really bad day and Silkeborg have a really good day. So we will have to see how that happens, but I think just the interesting bit here is the fight for second between MTV Season and MDoc. However, well done to Massey for probably securing this first place already. And then going into the countries, I think the Finns have probably secured this with almost an 100-point lead now, and I don't think that's closable at all. So I think the Finns have won this week, and I'm going to call that already. And then the Swedes, being 100 points behind the Finns, are only 40 points ahead of the Italians. So that's actually a smaller margin, and that could be made up by the Italians. So again, we'll have to see tomorrow whether the fight for second comes, but I think the Italians are too far away from the Germans to be caught for third place. So it's a similar story here with the countries as it was with the clubs. I think we've got a clear winner, but it's just a fight for second and third between two teams. And so you will have to join me again tomorrow for the final day to see exactly how that plays out. But that is the end of today's event, with one more day to go. I'm excited to see exactly what happens tomorrow, and really how Christian is going to end this series. So you will have to join me tomorrow for the final video to see exactly what happens. But for now, that is going to be the end of today's video. Thank you all for watching again, if indeed you still are at this moment. Just remember to like the video as always, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I think we're still at about 50% of you watching these videos but are not subscribed to the channel. So if you haven't done that already, why not just do it now? It helps me out a lot helping YouTube share these videos around to different people who might be interested, and also it keeps you notified whenever I release a video, although if it isn't, you may have to just click the bell next to the subscribe button and select all. And as always, be sharing these videos. We're still going to go for 1,000 people at some point. I know I keep drilling this, but we are going to make it at some point, I know it, and that only happens with you telling people about this simulator and how to take part in these events. So make sure you are doing that, maybe using these videos as a first port of call for them. And as always, be commenting down below any extra analysis you think should have been in this video, and also any extra bits you want me to add to this video. And I will join you again tomorrow for the final day of the Swedish Forest Cup.